The Batman Arkham series has been revolutionary for superhero games in general, bringing the Dark Knight into what most people expect from a Batman video game title now. Arkham Knight was the final installment in this series. Well, I would love to say that, but then this exists.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
And I loved every single one of them. Yes, even Origins. It's a great game, you should play it if you haven't. And as much as I loved Batman Arkham Knight, there are just some things in it that I just wish were done differently. This list is from my personal preference, so it's perfectly fine to disagree. I'd love to have a civil discussion with you down below in those comments. Hey guys, it's Jim from Nebcam Gaming, and here are 5 things that I personally think Batman Arkham Knight could have done better. Number 1, over-reliance on the Batmobile. Yes, I know this was painfully obvious, so painfully obvious that it was more painful than listening to Mariah Carey on repeat during Christmas. And yeah, I kind of wrote this script in January, that's why I made that joke, I'm sorry, I know it's June now. I want to elaborate that the Batmobile is awesome. You feel powerful, you feel like an absolute badass driving this tank around. And I don't mind its inclusion as much as most people. I think it's really cool how in this game it's like Batman and the Batmobile are one of the same. The car works with you. It's not just something that you can use to get around the open world, and it becomes a part of you and is implicated into the gameplay very well. But it is used too much. I lost count of the amount of times I'd just be driving around and then get stuck in a tank battle. The tank battles as well don't seem to provide much in terms of variety, and its difficulty scaling with each battle is more like, I'll just put more tanks in here to increase the difficulty. The more makes it harder apparently. Maybe different enemy variety in terms of tanks, like make them have different sorts of weapons. I mean, they do, but vary a little more. There are just too many tank related missions in this game, and for the first couple of hours it's fun, but it can get very old very fast. And as much as I love driving the Batmobile around and being this unstoppable force and the car just plays through pretty much anything, that's what she said. The tank battles become very saturated and repetitive after so long, and there's more I could complain about, but don't worry, this isn't the last time I'll be bringing the Batmobile up. Number 2, it takes place in one night. Every Arkham game has done this so far, so this isn't really anything new, but I find it categorically impossible that all the events of Night take place in just one night. You could say the same for Asylum, Origins, and City, but this is the game I'm talking about in particular today. The Riddler in particular, collecting his trophies will take up a chunk of playtime. That's just, no way, no way. I'm not buying it. It's like the logic we're supposed to go by is the fact that someone just goes, hey, how did you take down all these villains in one night and do all this shit, and clear up the entirety of Gotham in just one night? How is it even possible? And he's like, oh, don't question my logic, I'm Batman, that's why. You know, if that's the logic we're going by, then okay, I guess. That's also not counting the amount of side characters that are in this game as well, like Jim Gordon, Robin, Nightwing, Oracle, Catwoman, Azrael. It is quite literally impossible to do what Batman does in this game in just a single night. Maybe the Flash could do it, but Batman's not the Flash. So I do wish that this game spaced it out over the course of maybe a few days or a week at most, to make the story feel more fleshed out. Insomniac's Spider-Man, for example, takes place over the course of a few weeks and feels way more natural than Arkham Knight does in this regard. Maybe even make the main story, in particular, take place over the course of 3 nights. In the story, divide it up into chapters and title it something like Night 1, Night 2, Night 3, only don't make it like Gotham Knights. Number 3, Riddler Trophies left out in the open. So some of the most praised and deservingly so parts of any Arkham game are the Riddler Trophies. Edward Nygma, aka the Riddler, will place question mark trophies and riddles all over the city for Batman to figure out. In Arkham Knight there are generally great puzzles, but I lost count of the amount of times that I stumbled across a Riddler trophy that was just sort of sitting there out in the open. I mean, come on, at least make it feel like I have to work to get it. I love almost everything about the Riddler in this game. Really fun Batmobile race challenges, cool puzzles, and eventually taking down the Riddler is satisfying as hell after listening to the cunt just berate you for like 50 hours on how much better he is than you, and how he's your intellectual superior and how stupid you are. With every single mock, I just sat there thinking, yeah, I'm gonna fuck you up good when I see you. When I get all these trophies, I swear, son. Ho ho ho. So leaving the trophies randomly open out there like that, I don't like it. It just seems out of character for the Riddler, something he just wouldn't do. And an intellectual superior just wouldn't leave something lying around like that for someone as smart and as badass as Batman, so it doesn't make sense to me. Number 4, the Arkham Knight should not have been a tank battle. When this game was in its promotional period, the Arkham Knight as a character was a huge selling point. Who is he? Why does he know Batman so well, and why does he hate him so much? Even though it was painfully obvious to the most part that Arkham Knight was Jason Todd the whole time, Now, when it comes down to this sort of element of the game, I didn't mind. I'm stupid and never really see the plot twist coming. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. More so now than ever, but when I played Arkham Knight, I had no idea. Mainly because I had no interest in Batman really as a character until playing the Arkham games. These games are what got me interested in the Bats in the first place. So this plot twist doesn't really bother me personally. I didn't know that Jason Todd died in one of the comics and was tortured by the Joker, so without this pre-existing knowledge, the twist went right over my head. What does bother me is how over the course of this game, there's huge tension built up to just who the fuck this guy is. I was on the edge of my seat most of the time. The way the Knight and Batman would go back and forth, the Knight telling Batman he knew all of his moves, where his armor was the weakest and how to get under Batman's skin was done really well. We end up with like 3 different fights with the Arkham Knight, but 2 of them are with the Batmobile. This was really disappointing. The first time we fight the Knight is when Batman has to take down the Arkham Knight's tank, which has the Cloud Burst, which is Scarecrow's fear toxin. Sure, it's cool and all, but after hours upon hours of battling tanks, this isn't what the fight should have been. I know millions of people have already said this, but the battle with the Arkham Knight should have been similar to the battle against Deathstroke in Batman Arkham Origins. This fight in Origins can be very difficult. The game forces you to really time your attacks, dodges and counters, and really puts emphasis on Batman's fighting capabilities. So it would have been awesome to get a fight like this with the Arkham Knight, but instead we get a tank battle. And another Batmobile mission where the Knight drives this big drill thing and we have to lure him into explosives, and the final confrontation with him is just him sniping you from above. I'd be completely fine with, say, the first encounter being the drill boss and then the second encounter being a full-on hand-to-hand combat fight, but instead we get 2 Batmobile related bosses and then a really underwhelming Predator-like boss encounter. Really missed potential here. And the final point, number 5, closure on the Arkham Knight and Batman. And finally, in the ending of Arkham Knight, we see Jason Todd, now Red Hood, save Batman from being injected by Scarecrow, giving some indication that Jason still cares for Batman in some way. He doesn't necessarily forgive him, but he cares enough to know that he's not going to let Scarecrow kill his old mentor. I wish at the end of this game we could see just a small interaction with Jason and Bruce, just having a conversation, even if it's only brief, even if it's just Jason telling Bruce that he can't forgive him, but will reflect on this life that he has chosen. Just something, but instead I think it's kind of just left to speculation. Now, that works for some people. Personally, I don't really like that. It depends what the situation is, and depends what the IP is, and stuff like that. Sometimes I just like to see things unfold. I don't know if any DLC expands on this, and if that is the case, DLC is usually stuff that's released months or years after a game comes out, and most players would have moved on to something else by then, and just be completely unaware. That's just me, I don't know. But it would have been just nice to have one little interaction between Jason and Bruce, just hashing things out in a sense. Now, I know this video was being critical of Arkham Knight, but please don't get this twisted. I love Batman Arkham Knight. It is a great game. I think the good definitely outweighs the bad. These are just personal gripes that I would have rather have been done differently, that's all. And that is all I have time for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you drop a like on the channel, it really does help us out in the algorithm. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe if you are new. I've been Jim. Have a good day.